Okay, so now you've locked it. Now you're going to go and you're going to edit your sound. So sound is an incredibly important component of telling a story. And believe it or not, sound and music. Okay, if I said to you, if in order to enjoy a movie, this is crazy what I'm about to ask you, okay? And I want you to think about it. In order to enjoy a movie, if you had to choose between either hearing it or seeing it, what would you choose? Let's say you either have to shut the picture off or you have to shut the sound off. Which one would you rather keep?
Well, I feel like if I want to be more engaged in the movie, I would keep the sound
Why?
because that affects me more than just visually seeing something. Because if I'm watching like I actually did this when watching a scary movie. When I plug my ears, I don't hear any of the sound. It's no longer
You're
scary.
not scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I totally agree. And I think most filmmakers would agree. The sound and the music are what create the emotion. All right. The picture is important to tell the story, but the
Mhm.
sound and the emotion, the sound and the music create emotion. And it's so important to get the sound proper. I mean, obviously, one of the major components of sound is dialogue, right? What the people are saying. But then it's all these sound effects that go in. You see, when you're shooting, you try to isolate everything. The only thing you want to record when you're shooting is the dialogue. You don't want to record any of the other sounds. So, like if you're shooting the football scenes, you don't want to have a crowd in the stadium cheering. Now, sometimes you can't avoid it, right? But you try to isolate everything, and so that you can add it back in afterwards. So you add back in the sounds that you want to add back in. You recreate the environment. Even believe it or not, us sitting in this room, there's a tone in the room. There's like the hum of the air conditioner. There's the hum of the cars outside. There's a hum here. You don't even hear it. So when you shoot a movie, like when you shoot a scene from a
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
you shoot the scene, right? Then at the very end, everybody stops and they stay in the room because their bodies emit maybe a sound or a certain flavor in the room or whatever. And the sound recordist records the quiet room and it's called room tone. And you just let the microphone run
Oh.
for about a minute, all right? And you just record the ambient sound of the environment. Because when you go to mix the sound, you put that back in because you didn't necessarily record that. You recorded the voices up close and you add back the ambient sound.
Okay.
So this is called sound design. So when you after you've locked your picture, now you go and you start to design the sound. And the sound is the voices, obviously. It's the ambience of the environment. It's all the special effects. So if somebody's walking, you didn't record them walking. You saw them walking, but now you got to record footsteps. All right, and that's called Foley. The art of creating sounds and everything and putting them in to recreate it is called Foley.
Okay.
So there's tons of stuff that go into choosing the right sound. Like for instance, when I said, okay, the center's gonna snap the ball, right? So you often see in sports movies, he puts his hand on the ball. Well, there's no noise really uh, that you hear when somebody puts their hand on the ball, like for real. But in a movie, you hear it, right? You can boom, it'll be like you can make that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you want that to be a special effect, you can create that so that it creates an element of a
Oh.
bigger element of storytelling.
Okay.
Okay. And especially if you go into slow mo, there's all these effects and everything like that. So you're recreating the sound design of what you want people to hear and the emotions you want them to feel. Then you add music to it. All right. So then you're adding what we call the score, which is the underlying sort of music that goes in behind all of the scenes. So some scenes you choose not to put music, some scenes you put music, sometimes you put a song in. Maybe there's a montage where there's a bunch of stuff happening, you put an actual song. Sometimes it's just sound bites. So if you were to listen to any movie, you'll hear the score and the composition of the music behind it, which is so important in telling stories. The music that you choose and the sounds that you use and is what really creates emotion
Hmm.
or a reaction or hype, or like, the cheering, the upbeat stuff, the low beat stuff, it just that creates way more connection and emotion to the scene than the dialogue does, or
Yeah.
than the picture does.
It's just engagement.
That's what music does. It just engages you or disengages you or whatever. Or it
Mhm.
changes your mental impression and your emotions. It's so important to get that right. So that's done. So then you take a lot of time to do your music, sound effects, your whole sound design. Okay, and then you put the whole thing together, all the music tracks, okay, all the soundtracks, which is the dialogue, the sound effects, the music, the composition, all that kind of stuff, and you mix it all together and you try to find the right balance. Because sometimes in a scene, say you want the dialogue to be heard very clearly. Sometimes you want the theme song to be heard really clearly. So you guys mix, they have, 48 tracks or whatever, and they're mix that's what the sound mixer does. They just mix it all together as they're looking at the picture,
Mm.
and you're telling the story through sound,
Okay.
through music and sound. So that's the next thing, is the sound design. So that happens in post, right? Then you put it all together, and then you add in things like your end credits and your title treatment if you want special looking credits and this kind of stuff. And then you just mix it all together and you have a final film. That's what a final film is.
And then it's a wrap.
No.
No?
No, 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 no. Are you, not at all. Are you kidding me? Then distribution starts.
Okay.
No, you're. If I said you were a third of the way through, now you're three and a half of the way through.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay.
Then you get into the real business part, which we'll talk about afterwards. But now you have a finished film. Okay, when you wrapped the principal photography, all you had was finished footage.
Right.
Now you have a finished movie.
Okay. You have a finished product.
You have
product.
you have a finished movie. I mean,
Okay.
it's finished. It's all done. Everything's been added. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. So remember, you're shooting all your scenes out of order, right? And you're shooting them in different locations at different times with different lighting and all this kind of stuff. So if you want the story to be told sort of like congruently and feel like it was all sort of done together, and it doesn't have to all, obviously, a locker room's going to look different than a field, right? But if you want sort of it all to match and feel good, then the other thing you do is after you finish that, then you go through this process called coloring. And you go and you can change the tone and feel of the picture. You can color the picture to give it sort of a theme or a congruity.
Okay.
And that's a whole art unto itself. That's called coloring. Okay, so they do that also. Then you
That's
have
what the editor does?
no, there's a special person
Oh,
called a
wow.
colorist who does that.
Okay.
Now, some editors are
They'll
colorists.
the colorist will go over it after the editor's done
Correct.
with it. Okay.
The editor will finish the picture, lock the picture. All right. Then you'll add the sound in. The color is generally the last thing to do because color is affected by sound and picture. So, you can choose sometimes a theme, like you want the whole thing to look dark or feel like it's a horror movie. Everything's going to be brought down.
Right.
Even though you shot at a certain level, it'll all be brought down to make it all spooky or something like that. So it gives it a feel. Very artistic process when you see, and the director's involved with it too, because it's part of the whole story. All these things come together to tell story. It's all about telling a story, and these are techniques that you use to engage the audience in getting more involved in enjoying the story. So it's sound, color,
Mhm.
and picture, and they all come together. And when you get it right, and you are a good filmmaker, and this is the stuff they celebrate in film awards. They celebrate the art of doing that kind of stuff. So sometimes you
Oh.
watch the Academy Awards and you say, "The heck was that category?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like best so and so this type of thing. Like, why? I didn't notice. The,
Oh.
the reason you didn't notice is because it's done so well,
Yeah.
because it totally engaged you, and you didn't have to notice it because that's how well it's done. It's like seamless.
Okay.
It just feels like so right, so natural, so real. And this is the art of filmmaking. And it really is an art. All this stuff, all these things that go in. So here's the beauty of it, Michael. There are people who are unbelievably experienced, who are great and do it and have done it for years and really good. But new young people can be good at it too. This is what it's like an athlete. You're just talented. You just have a knack for it. You like a new golfer they don't have to have played for 20 years to be the best.
Hmm.
they can be the best on the first season, and
Right.
they just have a good knack, a good talent. They practice it, they're good at what they do, but they're just naturally talented. And that could be the case with a filmmaker. There
Hmm.
are just some people involved in the filmmaking process who are super talented, a lot of them actually. Yes, they have honed their skills and they've tried hard and worked hard and everything like that, but just some people just get it, like a good colorist just gets it, a good sound mixer, good musicians, good directors, good actors. This is all part of the artistic process. And when you're artistic and you're good at it, it just comes together and it creates magic, it creates entertainment. And if you're not good at it, that's why some things you watch and you say, "Are you kidding me?" And sometimes it starts with the story. It's like, just this, who wrote this story? This story's terrible,
Yeah.
right? Or this story's unbelievable.
Mm.
And the way they told the story and the shots they chose and the colors they used and the art direction and all this kind of stuff, everything contributes to telling a great story. And in post-production, that's what you're doing. You're just bringing all these elements together to tell that great story. So now you've got your footage from production, you've got your sound, your music, all of your color, your special effects. We didn't even talk about that. Like, let's say you need explosions or crowd cheers or this or that or whatever. There's a million things that go in. I mean, you add all that in. There's a lot of special effects, and that also helps tell the story. And so that's why it's so important to, after you've shot it, like shooting it again, it's just one component. Adding all these other things in are what really do tell the
Right.
story. Yeah. And by the way, that whole question I asked you about video and sound, I mean, for me, sound, I mean, think of that what the world was before there was motion pictures. There was radio. And people used to listen to their radios and listen to radio shows and I don't know if you've ever heard any. If you've ever heard a radio show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
You're just listening. Like, you're not, like, there's no picture, but they have sound effects and dialogue and music and all this kind of stuff. And it just takes you right into the moment and you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
So, which, if you were to watch a movie, like you said, without sound, you don't feel like you're there.
Yeah. You don't feel as much engagement.
Yeah. It's important and it's a good factor, but you don't have the engagement, especially the music. The music really, really hooks you. I mean, there's soundtracks. Like, I'm going to use Star Wars as an example. I mean, one of the most brilliant movie soundtracks of all time, in my estimation. I mean, if you listen to the songs in that soundtrack, each one of them has sort of a theme that you can almost, without even watching the movie, you can almost sort of envision what's going on. Like the Darth Vader theme, do, 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 do. It's evil.
Yeah.
The Princess Leia theme. Um, I forget how it goes, but it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Obviously the Star Wars theme. Do 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 do. It's like just,
Yeah. Yeah.
something magical. That these things tell the story. Like, that is absolutely brilliant music because it just tells the story without the story. Now you add all the other things in, the dialogue and the picture and the special effects and everything, and that's why you have a magical, very successful, super entertaining and engaging movie.
Yeah.
Because the whole team got together and gelled and everybody did a good job. But like, post production takes 3 or 4, 5 times as long as production, as it should.
Well, that's where they're really putting everything together.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing more than putting it together. They're adding things. They're adding music. They're adding effects. They're
Okay.
adding, yeah. They're assembling the video footage and the dialogue in a way that makes the story compelling, and then they're enhancing it by doing all these other things.
It's crazy how I never knew this stuff was really going on. You watch a movie and you just think it's people on set, they're filming it, and that's it.
Well, when you go to make your movie, you're going to see all the stuff that goes into this. And
Yeah.
again, that's why it is a gigantic venture to do this. I mean, think of how far we've come so far just in this discussion, as to, like, every step of the way is a gigantic feat.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. Like, you're creating a piece of art from nothing, a story.
Okay. Well, that was post production.
Yeah.